Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Dorothy. I'm a professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. Click that little letter I in the corner of this video and the drop down card will bring you right to my website. So today I want to talk about the month of August, and I'll do this for each of the zodiac signs. But as a preference, I want you to take quick notes here and remember these things first, and then I'm going to get into each individual sign. Got quite a few things going on in August. I've got at least 20 things to talk about. But a couple of the main things that are going on that are very, very important is this whole month we still have Venus in her retrograde motion in the sign of Leo. And with Venus retrograde, this is that time period where we're reevaluating our values. We're reevaluating some love relationships and partnerships. And we really can be even working on our own self-esteem and our own values and the things that we value just personally about ourselves, because that Venus energy does represent very personal energy. All right, so keep that in mind when I talk about Venus throughout the specifics of each of these videos. And I also want to mention that in the first couple weeks, the first week's actually pretty much close to the first 10 days of August, we have quite a few planets at the final 1 or 2 degrees of each of their respective zodiac signs, and mainly it's Saturn at 28 Scorpio, Venus and Jupiter are both at the 28 and 29th degree of Leo. And when we have these energies, when planets are at the end of the zodiac signs, it creates a sense of urgency. So up until I talk about August 11th, before then, Venus and Saturn and Jupiter transits are all going to have a feeling of urgency around them. So just remember that, and let me get to the details of what's going on now. Okay? All right, Geminis, and those with Gemini rising. So, remember, I already told you about the intensity of that 28th degree, so don't forget that piece. And so on August 1st and 2nd, depends on where you live in the world, Saturn is stationary and moving into a direct motion. It's at 28 degrees of Scorpio, and that's in your solar 6th house. So with it in the solar 6th house, that means the focus is in on your daily routine. And that daily routine piece of the 6th house includes work, it includes our health, and co-workers, how we eat, how we take care of ourselves, the everyday routine of health and wellness, whether it's, showering every day, brushing your teeth every day, the way that you eat. And with Saturn moving in that sector, it was there for quite a while and only just snuck back into that section for a few months, but, for the last 2.5 years it had been there. Pretty soon it will be into Sagittarius and out of that sector and into the relationship part. But in the meantime, the 6th house is a big focus for you in the month of August, as is the 3rd house, so I'll get to that in a second. So with that, again, that 6th house focusing in on things that are related to Virgo and daily routine, your health routine, your work, getting back and forth to work, all of those regular routine things. Lots of people have pets as the rulership in that sector too. Sometimes I think they're more 5th house. My friend Kim and I always talk about that, because people treat their pets more like children these days than pets. But in the meantime, until that's verified, we'll leave pets in the 6th house. So let me move on though. So that's the 1st and the 2nd, that's Saturn in that 6th house area of your chart as a stationary planet moving direct. Your focus is really in creating that foundation and making sure that new foundation for those routines is really, really solid. And that's what the attention of that stationary planet is all about. All right, on August 3rd, Jupiter in Leo squares Saturn in Scorpio. That's from the 3rd house to the 6th house. We're going to talk about a couple things at once here. On August 4th, the retrograde of Venus conjuncts Jupiter at 28 Leo. On the 5th, Venus and Mercury are conjunct, squaring Saturn, and those 3 things create this, all right? And this is all from the 3rd house of communication, which is your house, Gemini, your natural home. for the Gemini energy. So that third house of communication, it is your local neighborhood. It is your siblings, your cousins. So and then it goes into the sixth house of work. So what's going on here, with Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter all in that third house? So that it means there's a lot of talking going on, a lot of communication, travel all over the place, back and forth, driving a lot. So those of you with Gemini rising, the energy about that is very, very important. For you to focus in on that communication piece. It's so funny because I'm having a hard time talking at this second. So when we do that energy, when you focus in on that, what are you valuing within the communication? Because Venus is values. And with it retrograde there's a relationship issue happening. That communication has either faltered or it's not working well. Let me get my notes here because I've been talking for such a long time I'm forgetting what I'm talking about now. So we need to be generous with our love, generous, where we've been generous with our love, where we've been generous with our money. That's the Venus-Jupiter connection. We're now being challenged to see if that was correct. In our own personal lives, we're just going to challenge ourselves mostly. If you spent too much money, you're going to be challenged to pay your bills back. If you're having communication issues in the relationship, then you'll be challenged to find better words to say. Which just helps us to evolve a little bit more. It's not a major issue, it's just a lot to help. It's just a little bit of tension creates the change that we need, all right? So moving forward in those situations. Then, I'm going to move on, because we just talked about 3 different things at once there. It just means that there is a whole foundational piece that's changing for you as far as relationships, communication, and finances, period. And your health, your everyday routine. All right. Could be related to your job. On the 8th of August, Mars moves into that sign of Leo. So Mars is now joining where all this Leo stuff is ending. And for other planets, Mars is coming in to stir things up for the next 7 months in that third house. So whatever was going on for the last few months with Venus in Leo, the last year with Jupiter in Leo, all in that third house of siblings and communicating and really connecting to your local neighborhood, Mars will come in there and give us a bit more fire. Mars is fire planet. Leo is a fire sign, fixed as it will be though. We might be stuck on some ideas and Mars is going to come in and help us change those ideas or actually reinforce it so we get even more stuck or more determined to complete or accomplish something. There's always a couple different ways to look at things. And equally, that you're learning the lesson of this planet equally, whether you feel like you're stuck or you're being more determined and you're accomplishing something. They both work the same way. It's just one we have defined as good and one we have defined as not good. On the 11th of August, Jupiter, so I'll say Venus, Jupiter moves out of the sign of Virgo. So when Jupiter moves out of the sign of out of the sign of Leo into the sign of Virgo, that is in its detriment. But Jupiter as well is moving into your solar 4th house, so that's a blessing. So paying attention to the details over the next year of what is truly going on at home, changing and shifting and making some new routines at home will be very, very important. When Jupiter moves into that sector of most of our charts, a lot of us tend to move. It's not necessarily going to move into a larger place because Jupiter is about excess. Virgo is not. So it's going to be hard to determine which way that might work for you. But in the meantime, pay attention to the details while Jupiter moves through that sector. It'll take a whole year. And then there's a reinforcement for that, and I'll get to that in a second. But for the whole year with Jupiter moving through that 4th house of home and family, you will be focusing on your home. Maybe you want to just decorate and do some nice things, but you won't overdo it now that Jupiter's in the sign of Virgo. You might have overdone it if it was in that sector during its trek through Leo, though. Let's move on to August 14th. On August 14th, we do have a new moon in the sign of Leo. At the same time of the new moon, it makes within a degree a conjunction to this retrograde of Venus in Leo. I will do a full forecast on that, video forecast on that when we get closer to that time period, okay? Okay, it'll be up about a week before. And so when we have that energy though, I just want you to remember that it is in your solar third house. Again, that third house is highlighted for you, which is a communication place of the astrology chart. On the 14th, no, I already said the 14th. On the 19th, we have Venus as a retrograde planet making a trine aspect to Uranus, and that is from your third house to the 11th house. And that represents, lots of conversations and talking with in social media, in groups that are important to you, and the things that you really, really like and you enjoy as far as social endeavors go. So keep that in mind, and just know that right after that new moon, that Venus-Uranus trine, you can really grab an opportunity to really connect with people of like mind. Easy aspects sometimes can come and go without us even recognizing it. So I'm just letting you know that that opportunity will be there, so keep an eye out for it. On August 23rd, the sun moves into the sign of Virgo, so we have the next whole month to focus in and pay attention to details. Again, that's in your solar fourth house of home and family, so you're going to be reorganizing what's going on at home. On August 26th, the sun makes a conjunction to Jupiter in that fourth house, so that will actually compound the fact that you want to get some things organized and some things maybe redecorated, focusing in on what your daily routine is, making things easier around at home, whether you rearrange your kitchen, because that's a room we're in a lot, to make it easier to work in on a daily basis. It'll be things like that. Even redesigning the kitchen for more fresh foods. Not necessarily about food, but it is about the daily routine and the daily health piece that we need. You have Jupiter in Virgo for the next year. It'll definitely be a shift more to the more natural and organics, even more so than there is already. That's a sidebar. All right, on August 29th, we have a full moon in Pisces. Again, I will give you another detailed forecast on that one when we get within a week or so of the full moon. But being that it's in Pisces in your solar 10th house, also on the 31st of August, we have the sun in an opposition to Neptune in Pisces, and that just means they're really close together. The full moon and Neptune and the sun are all connecting 29th, 30th, 31st. And this is your career area, so what you're known for. And even if you don't have a career, but it's also what you're known for or how you're known out in the public. So with Neptune and Pisces up there, you already own it there. It's already part of your chart, but with Neptune and Pisces up there, the energy of this is like you might not be seen. If you're trying to get something accomplished at work, you might not be seen. Alright, but if you want to hide from the world, that might work. I know. It's not the best thing to do if you're looking for a career advancement, but it's just not your time right now for that. The time right now is just to meditate and spend some of these last 3 days of the month of August for everybody. It's our times to meditate and just to go within more so than not. Alright, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you, Gemini, for watching. Please come to my website, online classes, sessions, memberships, cool stuff. Thank you for watching. Blessed be. Namaste.